Welcome back to another video. So this is Dave again looking at another magazine, and this time it is Mean Machines Sega. And in the previous short video I described how I'd recently won a number of auctions, so it was about 20 magazines in total and they all came together. So they're not in the best of conditions, but they weren't terribly expensive and they're certainly readable and certainly show up fine on camera. So I'm starting with number 7. I do have issue 5, but the reason I'm not going to cover that is because about 6 months ago, Cojones Deloro, Sulfunk Retro and Gruss Newton covered Games Master, Superplay and Mean Machines Sega. And Sulfunk Retro covered up to issue 6, I believe. So I'm not going to repeat those, and I'll start on the one after that, which is issue 7. So in this issue we've got Flashback, which was touted as CD quality on cartridge. I'm not sure if that's really true. It's more that they have pretty good polygon based cinematics which look really nice, but I wouldn't say it's something from a CD. So they're covering Mega Drive, Mega CD, which I think, what was the date on this? April. This would have been 93, so the Mega CD would have just come out at that point, or was about to come out. We've got Jaguar XJ220 on the Mega CD, which was by Core Design, and I didn't like it at the time, but I've grown to like it over the years, and Tiny Toons on the Mega Drive. So more Special Reserve. I think that was the one. That was the pad I had. It's the, was it the Competition Pro? Or a variant of it. I've got a 6-button Competition Pro, which I think is a fantastic pad, because the 6-button Sega one was far too small, which is surprising because even now I find it uncomfortable. Even though I've got quite small hands, I just don't find it comfortable. Okay, so let's get on to the content. I won't dwell too much on the adverts because they tend to repeat themselves. So we've got Flashback, Jag, Final Fight Mega CD, Night Trap. So, oh yeah, this will be an interesting issue. Yeah, editorial. This cat looks like mine, Joey. Very similar, maybe a distant relative. Yeah, interesting. Julian Rignall and Richard Leadbeater, who would, particularly Richard, would take over the official Sega magazine and the Sega Saturn magazine. So CVG, I used to read that as well back in the day. I used to read CVG up until probably 96, 97. I remember reading a lot of PC, or kind of reading about a lot of PC games. So I didn't really buy PC magazines until later on because I just thought it wasn't good value for money. I'd rather just get one magazine that covered everything. So I ended up switching, I think, from Mean Machines to PC Gamer, I think, eventually. I used to buy 2 per month. But yeah, so more Mega CD hype from Woolworths. Not great launch games. Oh, speak of the devil, hello. Okay, back to the flick through. He was hungry, so he would pester and pester and pester, and we wouldn't get anywhere, so I thought it would be a good idea to pause the video. So if you hear any noisy eating, it's Buggerlugs. Right, so this is Silpheed, and this really was seen as a really good use of the CD, and I agree with that, because Silpheed was quite an old shoot 'em up. I think it was, I wouldn't say it was a decade old at that point, but it was quite old, and I remember it being an old DOS game. I think it was even pre-VGA, and they pre-rendered the backgrounds and made the graphical style quite similar to the sprite, so it looked as if it was all polygonal, and I think it worked really well. I think it's a really good game, and the video and I suppose the FMV doesn't get in the way of the gameplay, it enhances it, and I think that was a really good use. Is this Jack Nicholson's Golf? Yeah, never played that. I was a big fan of PGA and Bob. I never played that. Barney and Clyde. I thought that was called Bubble and Squeak. Not sure. Mean Machines is Top's bar none. Oh yeah, the barcode battler. A friend of mine had one of those. The way it was, well, I don't say it was advertised, but there was a lot of rumours that you just put the barcode in and it makes a game for you, and they're fantastic, and it wasn't. It was just like Top Trumps, and it creates a statistic. Kickoff, haven't played this on the consoles. I've played Kickoff 2 and Dino Dini Soccer. What's this? Nightly Fix. This is some kind of executioner stroke gimp mask wearing dude. Reminds me of Pit Fighter. Don't know. Might be a competition. Dixon's, so yeah, more Mega CD hype, £269. So available from the 2nd of April 93. So this would have been the magazine when the Mega CD launched. And I really wanted a Mega CD, and I asked my parents for one, and they just, I think they thought it was good because it played CDs, but it was still really expensive. So I think they said they'd give me something towards it, but I had to save the rest of the money myself. And we got one in the end from a friend of ours who owned a shop and got it at trade price. So yeah, I think I got it around, it was when I went to secondary school, so it would have been around October that year, so 6 months of all the hype. And yeah, the Mega CD is what it is. There are some good games on it, but not as many as the Mega Drive. So Flashback, which again did come out on Mega CD, with the pre-rendered cinematics, which was similar to the 3DO version and the, I was going to say JAG, but that was the cartridge. Was it CDI? I forget. There was definitely a 3DO version. So yeah, this is a game that a friend of mine had back in the day. It plays a lot like Another World, and I didn't play it very much. I got it recently. It was when I started getting back into collecting physical Mega Drive cartridges. That was one of the first games I really wanted to get back and play. Really hard, but at least you get a password system. So I gather they liked it. Yeah, 93. Presentation fantastic. So the only thing that let it down, I said let it down 87%, you can't argue with that, is the sound. Yeah, so there are no red arrows, everything's looking good. Mean Yob, some more pictures that I've got sent in. So obviously Lethal Weapon 3 was out at this point. More Mega CD, Bite from Comet, save £50. There must be a catch. Yeah, it's unusual that they show it with the controllers. A lot of adverts on the Mega Drive and CD didn't have the, well, they had the controllers but didn't have the cables because they look messy. More Street Fighter 2. I mean, I did a flick through of magazines probably about 2 years ago, and these were PDF scans, and I commented that there was just so much about Terminator and Robocop to a lesser extent, but things like Aliens. And these franchises, these were kids' magazines, and we loved them. Don't know if that's the same now. Yeah, WWF Wrestling. Don't remember many of these. I remember the characters, but I don't remember the names. I just remember Yokozuna, who used to sit on people. So, he's 17. Yeah, I remember those. They were okay. Easily, well, I suppose easily listening on the radio. It's pop stuff, and they just disappeared overnight. Q&A. There's people asking about the Mega CD. How much will the Mega CD cost when over here? £269. Which is a lot of money if you think of the cost of the Mega Drive as well. So more tips for Sonic. What have they got here? Yeah, so Sonic 2 would have been out at this point. Yeah, 93 was the year where we didn't get a Sonic game on the Mega Drive. We got Sonic CD and Sonic Chaos. Twinkle Tail. That looks quite good. An RPG. I should look into that at some point. Too many games. Yeah, Terminator 2 arcade game. I recently bought a Menacer just to play that. There aren't really that many Menacer games on the Mega Drive. But I need to figure out how to film from a CRT to do that. It's a Jaguar XJ220 by Core, and I think this was one of their first games on the platform, and it was a launch game. And I think I think people were disappointed by it because you look at it, and on the screenshots it looks just like a Mega Drive game, like Outrun, or Mega Drive 16-bit conversion of it. But what's really good is all the trackside scenery. They're all scaled sprites, but you don't see that on the screenshots, whereas the Mega Drive games always had sprites at different sizes, and they pop in and out, but all these are properly scaled. And I think it's just a shame that they couldn't do a road effect like Batman Returns, because this would have looked really nice. So yeah, 90%. If this had been reviewed maybe a year or two later, I don't think it would have got that score. Graphics. Graphics are a bit blocky, and they're not distinct. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, my only problem with this game was these are meant to be circuits, but I didn't really feel like I was going around a circuit. Fatal Fury, Mega Drive. I did have that. I found it a little bit slow. I mean, the speed of the I don't know. I think the speed of the characters was okay. I think it was just maybe a lack of animation that really, I would say, ruined it, but made it feel sluggish. But the colour palette's pretty good, and yeah, it was fun enough to play. But once you played a Neo Geo or a Saturn conversion, you can't go back really. Although Fatal Fury Special 2, what was that? Fatal Fury Special, which was I suppose the souped up version of Fatal Fury 2 on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom's pretty good. Spider-Man, again, yeah, I haven't played that one. I've played the original Spider-Man on the Mega Drive. Another interruption, PPI insurance. I should block that number. Batman, Revenge of the Joker, so more superheroes on the Mega Drive. I played Batman Returns, but not this. I didn't know there was another Batman game. I remember there being the Batman game, Batman Returns, and Batman and Robin very late in the Mega Drive's life, but I didn't know this game ever came out. 68%, so it's okay-ish. This is a really great game. Rainbow Islands. It's a very late game on the Master System, because we're talking mid-ish, 93. And the Master System was pretty much dead in the US, and I think even in Japan, but in Europe it kept going. And Rainbow Islands never came out in Europe on the Mega Drive. There was a Japanese release that's got a strange black sky, which for me just ruins the aesthetic of it. But on the Master System, at least on the first level, it's blue. So the sound on this is not quite the same. They changed the music because of a copyright infringement with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is what the music was loosely based on. But this graphically isn't as good as the Mega Drive version, it isn't as good as the arcade, but it plays really, really well. There is meant to be a bug where you can't complete the game, but I haven't got that far in it. So they gave it 84. I think that's really well deserved. It captures the feel of the arcade game. What's his name? 7-Up guy. Fido Dido, was he? In the UK at least. In the US it was Cool Spot. Night Trap. This wasn't a game that I played back in the day. I never really wanted to play it because I'd looked at it, I'd seen it in shops, and it just felt like there wasn't a lot of interactivity. I did play it later on. I actually played the it was the 32X CD version, and it's less grainy, but I didn't really enjoy it. But this game was so controversial because it was one of the first games that brought in rating systems, and I think for video, yeah, I think that's warranted. I mean, it's not that violent really. It's really just, if it was on video now, it'd be a PG or a 12 at most, but I don't think there was a 12 rating at that point. So yeah, it's a good cultural artifact, and it it was a sign of the times where games like this and Mortal Kombat were around and kids were playing them. And I said earlier, with films like Terminator, we all watched them as kids. I don't think it did us any harm, but Yeah, I think people are just a bit more sensitive now. But would you want a 6-year-old playing this game? Probably not. But hey ho. So more of a child-friendly game. This was Tiny Toon Adventures, and I always wanted to play this. And I think I asked for this for my birthday, and it was quite expensive at the time. And I think I got another game instead. And I never went back to this. And I remember there being a SNES version, and I saw this. It might have been in CVG. I looked at the SNES version, and the SNES version looked so much better. And then when I played it, I didn't enjoy it as much. But when I played this, I've only played it recently, it feels better. The gameplay seems a lot better. Yeah. I really should do a video on this. Yeah, 92%. It's a fun platformer game. I suppose if you like games like Castle of Illusion and those Disney games and you played everything, go for the Warner games. Sunset Riders, another Konami game. So Konami was quite new to the Mega Drive because it had the deal with Nintendo. So Castlevania, the Mega Man game, the Wily Wars, which I think was the first 3 games, Probotector / Contra, and this came out. Well, I haven't played this. I've seen lots of playthroughs of this, and it looks like a lot of fun. I think it's 2-player. Another console advert. Renegade Master System. It looks a bit like Double Dragon. 51%. So they say the last ability is the problem. Mutant League Football. This reminds me of... I haven't played this, but it reminds me of... Is it Mutant League? Okay, I might have got the name wrong. No, not Mutant League. It's Brutal Sports on the Jaguar. Helps if I actually read it. Of course, it's not Mutant League. That's what this game is. Yeah, it was Brutal Sports on the Jaguar. And I read about these and I thought, oh, they look similar. I don't think they're made by the same company, but that got a good score. I'm not really a big sports fan, so I probably won't pick that up. I do like NHL, but not PGA as well, but I'm not massively into sports games. So Sewer Shark. This is a launch game again on the Mega CD. I think this got bundled in the US, whereas we got Solfeus. I'm not going to call it Solfeces because I actually quite enjoy the game. I think if it had come out on the Mega Drive, or it did under Sol Deus, but not over here, it would have got a reasonable rating, I think. But yeah, and the Mega Drive conversions that came on the arcade disc. Anyway, yeah, I played this probably about 2 years ago. It was a game that I always wanted to play but never did. And at the time, I'd played a few Mega CD FMV games when I had one, and I didn't really enjoy them, and it really put me off. I think the only one I really enjoyed was Road Avenger, and Ground Zero Texas, but that was more of a shoot 'em up. I think it just supported the light gun, but that was like Sylpheed, where the FMV's in the background rather than it being the game. But 82%, that was very, very generous. It's really just a Twitch reaction game, but visually looks good. I mean, the feeling of motion on it's really, really good. And that would work well. I mean, if you had something like an Oculus Rift, and well, you wouldn't have had it then, but if that technology had been around then, it would have looked really good. Krusty's Funhouse, another Simpsons game. I didn't play this. I played Bart's versus the Space Mutants. I remember this coming out, just never played it. So they say it's an absolute topper puzzle game. Oh, I didn't realise it was a puzzle game. I might have to look into that then. I do like puzzle games. Cyborg Justice, again another game that looks similar to another one, which was Black Hole Assault, which I had on the Mega CD, which was a one-on-one beat 'em up. But I always thought that they shared a resemblance, so I don't know if they're by the same developer, but this is more like Final Fight with robots. It looks quite good from the screenshots, but the colour palette doesn't look great. So again, that got 90. They're being really generous with games in this. So what was the opinion? Yeah, it says, like Echo, Cyborg Justice happens along with the same groundbreaking ingredients. contribute to Echo's success. So was this made by the developer that Nova Trade? Yeah, so it's done by the developer of Echo the Dolphin. Look back, Mean Machines, so that was Mean Machines before the magazine split into Nintendo Magazine System and Mean Machines Sega. So they look back at the reviews, and I think this is good. That maybe, I don't know, but maybe in the later issues there'll be a look back at some of the Mega CD launch games, and I don't think they will be very generous. Yeah, PGA, that's good. They said they underrated it at the time. We should have given it a mark of 95%. I agree with that. I think that's a really good game. And it's saying it's superseded by PGA 2, which is really just more of the same. Same graphical style as well, because it changed in number 3. More sports games. So yeah, they're looking back. So they said it was 79%. Really? I think it's worth more than that. It's really hard, but it's a great game. Final Fight on the Mega CD. Now, I think this will get a good review because it's a conversion of the arcade game, and the SNES version, which I did a gameplay of probably about a month and a half ago. There were 2 versions. There was one with Cody and one with Guy, and there was a stage missing. You couldn't play 2-player either, and some of that was due to the limitations on the cartridge size, because these were launch games on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. But I don't know why the 2-player was missing. I don't get that. Unless it was just a restriction of the console that it slowed down with 2 inputs. I don't know. But the Mega CD version had a lot of hype, and other than the colour palette, it's pretty much, I don't want to say arcade perfect, but it's pretty close to it. There's no censorship in it either, I don't believe, at least not in the UK version. So yeah, 95%. Everything is top marks. I think looking back now, the only bad thing is the colour palette, which isn't as good as the arcade or possibly even the SNES. Cool Spot, again another game that I didn't play but I'm aware of, and I know there was a sequel on the Saturn. I think it was Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood, but I didn't play it. I think this was a shiny game by Dave Perry, who did Earthworm Jim. So maybe not to everyone's taste. Jungle Strike. So this would have been a preview at the time. Really liked the original, but I never finished it. I just found it really hard, and I would have been about 10, 11 at the time, and maybe I didn't have the patience, so I never really got into the later games. But I got all 3 as a birthday present from my wife about 2 years ago. So actually, embarrassingly, I haven't really played any of them since. I really should do. Is just start with Desert Strike and work my way through. Hardball 3 Mega Drive, I did play that, and I got kicked out of a friend's house along with him because he was getting really impatient with it, and he got a bit upset and his dad just booted us out into the garden. X-Men, I played that, a friend of mine had it back in the day, and it's, I don't know, it's not got a great reputation. I like the fact that you can play as different characters, but it just felt like a pretty standard platformer game. In a way, a little bit like Strider, but just not quite as refined. Maybe I should go back to that now and just see how it holds up now. Because I think a lot of platformer games kind of, well, it was really all we had at that point. You did get racing games and other games, but there were a lot of platforms, and I think people got saturated with it. But I think now, with all the variety that we've got now in 2015, the little subtleties might not matter as much. Maybe they do. So there was a sequel at the end of the Mega Drive's lifespan, which is really expensive. It was quite a rare game, which is meant to be very good. So more magazines. Mega Shop Guide. That. Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange advert, that one, because it doesn't tempt me to buy anything. Oh, I wonder if this is a collection. Okay, so this is more like little business cards. WizKid Games. Where was the Kent? There used to be a WizKids in Barnsley. think one in Sheffield too. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the magazine. So next month they're reviewing X-Men, reviewing Jungle Strike and Colour Spot. So really the games that they're previewing here should be completed and ready for review. Now I don't have this issue, which might not be a bad thing because if it's similar content, but I think I've got every maybe third one, and then there's a run of them after that. So yeah, more WizKids. Yeah, Two Tribes, Populous 2. Again, it's another game on my pile of shame that I haven't played. I bought a load of Mega Drive games that is kind of similar genre, and I didn't play any of them back in the day. And I bought Populous, Populous 2, Megalomania, and Powermonger. And I've been playing Megalomania and really enjoyed it, but I don't want to start too many games at the same time. What's annoying is when I quickly put Powermonger in, it didn't come with a manual, and it's almost impossible to play without the manual. So I managed to find a PDF copy on, I think it was Internet Archive, so at least when the time comes I can play it. But that's enough rambling. Very different cover to the Amiga version, because I think it was all about Greek gods, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it wasn't what people wanted and this was more trendy to a console market. Who knows? But yeah, so that's Mean Machines Sega, issue 7. So hopefully more of these will be coming out soon. I don't know what I'm going to do with releasing them. I might do a run of some of them back to back, or I might stagger them every week. I don't know. I say that I'm going to do a particular run of videos, and I never do. So I think it'll just be they come when they come. So yeah, thanks very much for watching.